Hello, my fellow limitless, sexy, sassy, saucy HBICs. How are you on this lovely morning, afternoon, or evening? I'm recording more than one video today, so you're gonna see this on repeat. And I have a coaching call, like in moments, so the vibe might change. I might be different by the time I come back. You don't care. Let's get to the basic, bitch. If you need help figuring out what's going on between you and your manifestation, please feel free to email me at manifestingwithkimberly@gmail.com. All of my coaching options are in the drop box below. They're in the screens. It just went by. I have 2 channel memberships. The one titled Hot Seat / Group Coaching. If you join that one, I give you access to both channel memberships. I have TikTok. I have Instagram, I have Clapper. If you're new here, how you doing? Yeah, I'm always like this. But I'll judge you. You give me a chance, I'll judge you. Don't run just yet. I'm pretty good at this, okay? So, if you're new, subscribe, come back. I'm telling you, by the end of the video, you're gonna end up liking me. I would love for you to follow me everywhere. Hang out with me everywhere, okay? Come, if you love manifestation and you want to change your life like I've changed mine. Listen, I hear it all the time. Kim, you're glowing. Kim, you are glowing. You look so good. You look so different. Yeah, I know I am. You want to know why? Because I've been deciding that's who I am, and because my life has changed. My manifestations are flourishing in my world. Because I decided to be a version of myself that's having my shit and refusing to accept anything less. And by refusing, I mean not allowing the 3D to tell me a different story. Any fucking more. That's who I became. That's who I am now. And that's why this looks different. Because I am a different version of myself. And you can see the unfolding of my own evolvement from my first video unto this video. There's a big change in Kim. And I leave those videos up, even though some of my, like opinions or whatnot has changed, my perspectives have changed. Well, yeah, because I've evolved. But even though I'm not taking the videos down. No, I'm not doing it. That's how you get to see my change. I'm not doing it. So, there's value in every one of my videos. I am that damn good, and I know I am. Comfortably. Okay? So, the influence or the reason for this video is I had a comment the other day, and this is not a negative response to that person because I know that person didn't mean it in a negative way, and we had back and forth after, so it was not negative. I could tell what state they were in. But their question was, it seems like you're saying, I don't remember the word for word. It seems like you're saying that you have to be in the state or you can't manifest, or you can't have what you want. It seems like that's what your message is lately. And isn't that limiting? And I heard it in their tone, even though it was through a comment. And, obviously I stood up for myself. I have never said that. That's never come out of my mouth, because we all know, what am I? I am the #1 limitless coach. I'll give myself that. I'm the #1 limitless. I've been spewing limitless for a while, right? We have no limits, okay? No limits. It was Sammy, though, who was first with no rules. But I love Sammy. We know this. But I could hear it in that person's voice, and that was coming from a place of worry, fear. Is that true? That if I'm never in the state, that I'm not going to get my manifestation. And I want to help you today feel a little bit better about that type of thinking. I know comfortably by the end of this video, you're going to feel better, and you're going to understand that your perspective and fears around the phrase states of consciousness I'm going to make them unfounded for you. I'm going to get rid of them fears, because states are life-changing. Working on your state of consciousness is I cannot stress this, has absolutely changed my life. I'm going to get emotional, so I'm going to stop talking for a minute. It's changed my life. I wish you knew who I was 10 fucking years ago, because I didn't want to live. I didn't want to exist. And now I am so, I thrive. I can't wait to wake up in the morning. And I know how crazy that sounds. I love life. I love it. And I love being here on this planet with y'all. I do. So if you're feeling that way, we're going to change that shit, and you're not going to be afraid of states anymore. And we're going to get this. We're going to get this. Now, first, just to get my point across and hopefully, zhuzh you a little bit, let's do some reading of Neville. I'm going to read just 2 little pieces in regards to states consciousness, okay, to prove my point. Your assumption to be effective cannot be a single isolated act. It must be a maintained attitude of the wish fulfilled. And that maintained attitude that gets you there, so that you think from your wish fulfilled instead of thinking about your wish, is aided by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled frequently. It is the frequency, not the length of time, that makes it natural. That to which you constantly return constitutes your truest self. Frequent occupancy of the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret of success. All happiness depends on the active, voluntary use of imagination to construct and inwardly affirm that we are what we want to be. We match ourselves to our ideals by constantly remembering our aim and identifying ourselves with it. We fuse with our aims by frequently occupying the feeling of our wish fulfilled. It is the frequency, the habitual occupancy, that is the secret of success. The oftener we do it, the more natural it is. Fancy assembles. Continuous imagination fuses. It is possible to resolve every situation by the proper use of imagination. Our task is to get the right sentence, the one which implies that our desire is realized, and fire the imagination with it. All this is intimately connected with the mystery of the still small voice. Inner talking reveals the activities of imagination, activities which are the causes of the circumstances of life. As a rule, man is totally unaware of his inner talking and therefore sees himself not as the cause, but the victim of circumstance. To consciously create circumstance, man must consciously direct his inner speech, matching the still small voice to his fulfilled desires. Right inner speech is essential. He calls things not seen as though they were. Romans 4:17. For what it's worth, if you're interested, what I just read, they were from 2 different Neville books. One was Awakened Imagination and the Search, and The Power of Awareness, for what it's worth. Okay, so why did I bring those up? Because number one, I have the belief, so it's why I'm probably seeing it in my 3D, is when people think about having to be in the state, which is just another way of saying being in the version of your new self. I think there comes like a pressure with it, right? Oh my God, I have to be in the state. Stop fearing the state. It's not how long you get there. It is the returning. And I've said this before. So I've shared those little excerpts for a reason. I want you to hear it. It's not how long you're in the state. You're just deciding to be a new version of yourself. And I know that sounds a little too good to be true, that you can just make this decision and bypass healing or bypass dealing with traumatic events. Listen, I'm saying that if you're the type of person that wants to get past that stuff, yeah, you can just decide to be a new version of self. And that goes against what a lot of people believe, right? But it's the repetition of making that decision with conviction that you are new self that is going to change you. You are going to become new self. So you might get there today and fall back out. What you need to remember is just go back. Just decide to go back. Return to your decision. It's the frequency of you returning. Why are we returning? Why are we getting into the state? Because we want it to feel natural. that frequency of you returning to your decision to be new self is making that new version of self feel more natural for you. Why do we say affirmations on repetition? Now, I know some of you are in the early days of your journey and you think that we're just repeating affirmations to get that thing. No, affirmations are bringing you to a state. Affirmations are bringing you to the version of yourself that has what you're affirming for. Why do we say the affirmations on repeat? We're told it's because we're getting them into our subconscious mind. That's all true. But we're also doing it to get those affirmations to feel natural to you. Natural to say the affirmation? No. Natural for you to become the version of yourself that has that what you're affirming for. So every technique there is, even visualizing inner conversations, is geared to move you into the state of having, or the wish fulfilled, also known as the version of you that has it. So don't think that states are these big monsters on the, the succubus monsters that you're going after, but it feels like they're constantly eluding you. No, they're not eluding you. You're in a state, whether you know you are or not, you are. And you fluctuate through states all day long. You're just deciding to be a new version of you. New version of you. That's all it is. And it's the repetition of you choosing to be that version of you. The repetition of you deciding to be your new self. How do you decide to be new self? Well, you can affirm it. I am finally now the version of myself that's having all of her manifestations, having all of her desires. I like to say, I'm finally now the version of myself that is absolutely living her dream life. It is surreal how quickly my life changed. I can't believe I'm finally here. I'm finally in my dream life. For me, okay, me, this is my individual choice. It feels more than just an affirmation. It feels as if I'm having an inner conversation with my 4D self. There's poop. So I like to call it a little bit of a hybrid affirmation inner conversation. But it was the repetition of me going back to that affirmation hybrid inner conversation. It was the repetition of me choosing that. Of me making that decision that I am new self. I looked at that as more than just me spewing meaningless words. When I said those words, whether I was thinking or saying out of my mouth, I believed I was changing. I believed I was becoming new self. Even when I didn't have a good day and I didn't feel good and I was doubting, I still returned to my decision. Even if I didn't fucking believe I was changing in that moment, right? Even if I was having a bad day, I still returned to my decision that despite how I feel, despite what my 3D is showing me, I am becoming my new self, right? There's nothing wrong with saying becoming. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not keeping it away from you. I stood in that decision. Just like you make any other decision. Like I'm deciding to go to work tomorrow. You're making that decision. You're going to do it no matter what. Despite how you feel, you're getting up and going to work tomorrow. Right? You're standing in your decision. It's the same thing. I was standing in the decision that no matter what, I'm new self or I'm becoming new self. Right? I stood in conviction that I was becoming her. I was becoming different. And after the repetition of me saying that to myself, it began to feel natural, normal, and for me, believable. that it was working, that I was changing. I was becoming her. I was in the reality where I was going to start experiencing my desires, my dream desires. And it did feel surreal. Now, did I always have an amazing feeling every time I said that? No. Take the stress of the feelings out of the equation. Because it might feel completely unnatural and illogical to tell yourself that you're getting into that state or that version of self. That's okay. Throw the pressure of the feelings out the door. Instead, look at this as a choice, a decision. And it will begin to feel natural, normal. Like, yeah, I'm new self. And fuck what your 3D is showing you right now. Because your current 3D is nothing but the manifestation of who you were dominantly being. But this fear of, well, I have to maintain that state or I'm not going to get my manifestation. No. It's how often you return to that state. You're going from state to state based on your thoughts and what thoughts you're allowing in. Meaning, the shifting of states is like instant. It's an instant thing. When you have a thought that comes in that says, this is never going to work for you, this doesn't work, you're not loved, you're not going to get that person, and you let that thought come in and you sit in it and allow it to make you feel bad and allow it to make you feel worried. That's you making a decision to be that version of yourself. And let's say right after you were sitting in it, you're like, no, this is ridiculous. I am having my manifestation. And then maybe you said a couple of affirmations. When you made the decision that you were having it, you went back. You went back to the right reality. And I word it like right reality, the reality where you're getting it. It's instant, the movement. It might not be instantly in your 3D for your 3D eyeballs, but the move is instant. So the more often you're standing in your decision to have what the fuck you want, the more often you're making that decision. That's every time you go back. You go back to the reality where you're having it. And after a while, you might not even have to verbalize who you are. You just know. Why? Because it starts to feel natural. And all the while you're frequently returning to be the version of you that has the manifestation, that dwelling state of yours is also changing. Whether you mean it to or not, it is. It is also elevating and rising in consciousness. It's changing with you. Meaning, so when you do fall out of the state and you go into autopilot mode and you flick back to autopilot, all the times that you chose to return to your decision to be new self, every time that was working on this one, this dwelling state. So your autopilot begins to change. It rises in consciousness too. It changes with you. That has been my exact experience. So we don't necessarily fall all the way back to the shitty victim state we started our journey in. Nope. We don't go back there. We don't fall that back down the stairs, right? This channel, we look at states as if they're on a staircase. Higher up the staircase, the better the state, right? Okay. Because of your decision to frequently return to being the version of you that's having your manifestation, to being in the wish fulfilled. It didn't matter that you fell out of it. It mattered that you chose to go back. So don't be afraid of states. You've been working on your dwelling state without even meaning it, meaning all your autopilot moments, the moments you're catching yourself having inner conversations. Those inner conversations start to change too. And you probably haven't even been focusing on that, but they are. Meaning our inner talk Our inner talk starts to change. The autopilot conversations that probably in the beginning of your journey you noticed were pretty fucking shitty. Were pretty more along the lines of you not having what you want. Probably inner arguing with SP or anybody else in your reality. You're going to notice you're not doing that as much. Because as you were making the decision to return to the wish fulfilled, return to the version of you that has your manifestation, good old autopilot dwelling state was rising in consciousness too. So don't be afraid of the phrase states. You are changing your damn life, just like I changed mine. States of consciousness are happening. Whether you're directly focused on them or not, you are moving through states all the time. They're not something to fear. They are not. They're just who you think you are. Each state is a new you. Each state's a new you. So return to your decision that you are your new self. Stop overanalyzing and going into logical mode. That is what's stemming up the fears. Logical thinking, overthinking, worrying you're doing things wrong. You are the God of your reality. You are the I am. You are pure, unadulterated consciousness at your core. You are, at your core, completely and utterly flawless, limitless. It is your logical thinking that makes you feel otherwise. It is a choice who you are, who you're being. It's a choice. And with the repetition of your decision, things are changing. Things are a moving and a grooving. And you're going to get your manifestation. So don't fear the state. Don't get upset with yourself when you fall out of the state. It doesn't matter. The frequency matters, how often you go back. So hopefully that has cleared some things up. I'm hoping. If not, if you still got some questions, put it in the comments. I will respond or make a video out of it. Okay? And on that note, I'll see you tomorrow.